Thank you for joining us. In our continuing series on breakthroughs in health, our program today will include updates on age reversal with Dr. Sandra Kaufmann. She's a cellular biologist with multiple degrees, and for the last 5 years, she's the chief of pediatric anesthesia at Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital. Dr. Kaufmann was recognized as best in medicine by the American Health Council. She's the author of the Kaufmann Protocol and the first ever comprehensive theory of aging. Dr. Bill Andrews is a molecular biologist and gerontologist whose career has also centered on searching for a cure for human aging. He is the founder and president of the biotechnology company Sierra Sciences and will join Dr. Kaufmann right here after these messages.
When I was young, it seemed that life was so wonderful, a miracle. Oh, it was beautiful, magical. And then they showed me a world where I could be so dependable. Oh, intellectual, cynical.
Find magic again. Sprout by HP. With Intel RealSense technology inside, now you can bend the rules of creativity outside.
Life Extension magazine brings you new discoveries in health and anti-aging. Our science-based research and supplements are so advanced they're many years ahead of the medical mainstream, with quality control standards that exceed FDA mandates. Life Extension has covered groundbreaking medical research for more than 35 years. For your health and future, you deserve the best. Learn more at lifeextension.com.
I have the pleasure of having with us Dr. Sandra Kaufmann. It's a real pleasure and privilege.
Thank you, sir.
You were speaking here in Las Vegas on stage at this amazing RAADfest event. Tell us about it a little.
Well, RAADfest in general is the most phenomenal festival that they have. I like the idea that they created a festival instead of a conference because it brings together a lot of people from different fields with different abilities and knowledges. Makes it a fun event so people can really just celebrate ideas and learning about not aging. And I was extremely honored to be invited to speak. And I just had a fantastic time doing it, and I will tell you anything you want to know about what I spoke about.
In the past, these ideas, these concepts were frowned upon, ridiculed, but things have changed along with technology. Share this with our audience.
Well, I think up until about 10 years ago, the idea of reducing aging and decelerating the process was absolutely ridiculous. People thought of it as snake oil. And I think to a certain degree they still do. There wasn't a lot of scientific input into it. It was all very space age sort of craziness, and everyone just wanted to live their daily lives. The last 10 years have seen unbelievable breakthroughs. I think the popular press has done us a huge disservice because they talk about a giant pill and then they run it through a study and it doesn't really work and they go, see, anti-aging just isn't going to work. My take on the situation is that science really has made huge strides and there really are phenomenal things that we can do. I am not a researcher per se. I'm a clinical physician. I work every day in a hospital. But I was a cell biologist at one point, and I wanted to take all of these scientific concepts and make it so that normal people could understand what we were talking about, and then help people create plans so that they too, as normal individuals with normal lives and normal checkbooks, could sort of just have their own decelerating age program. That's sort of what I do.
Tell us in greater detail of the specialties that you are trained in and advocating.
So, well, I have two specialties for the most part. My real job is that I'm a pediatric anesthesiologist. I'm a chief of anesthesia at a children's hospital in Florida, Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital, so it's close to Palm Beach. So in that field, I trained in the field of anesthesia at Johns Hopkins, where I did my fellowship and my internship. Before that, I did a year of general surgery, I did a year of neurosurgery. I like to think of it as the potpourri of a medical background. But I really think what it did is gave me more of a perspective on life in humans and pathology and all of those sorts of things. Prior to that, I was a cell biologist. And that gives me my take on how we age, because I approach everything on a cellular level. Because we are essentially cell products and then a little bit of fluid thrown in. So if you take all of those things that I've learned over the last far too many years, it gave me the ability to synthesize all this information.
I find all of this really quite fascinating. And your background and the things that you were working on, dementia and so forth, also extremely interesting and so essential. Tell us a little bit about your experiences in that area with pediatrics.
So I am the chief of pediatric anesthesia at Joe DiMaggio's Children's Hospital, and I think that it's an amazing opportunity. It's a lot of pathology at the same time. Kids are fantastic and fun to work with. On top of that, I have a big role in leadership at the hospital, so it's a sort of a multifactorial job. But I think the important part of it is I've learned a lot about pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics, and all that means in real lingo is how drugs affect your body, how you metabolize them, how you synthesize them, in varying conditions, because kids come in all shapes and sizes. The other thing that has trained me to do is to take complex scientific information and translate it so that regular people can understand it. Because when I approach a family, I have about 1.5 to 2 minutes to convince a very upset mother to hand their child over to me, explain what I'm going to do and that they're going to be safe and that I'm going to give their child back. And that's a lot of trust. So you really have to be compassionate, understanding, appropriate, respectful, and all of the things that it takes to sort of communicate scientific information to regular people. What always follows, however, in the anti-aging world is people say, well, what does being a pediatric anesthesiologist have to do with anti-aging? And the answer is not a whole lot. Various skill sets, maybe, science, maybe a little bit, but it's also the idea that maybe looking at kids every day wants you to maintain your youthfulness, because I'm surrounded just by like energetic folks and fun kids, and you don't want to lose that. So it's sort of a stimulating environment.
In what point in your career did you move in the direction of age reversal?
So it had nothing to do with my career. I am kind of an adrenaline junkie. I'm a rock climber. I climb 5, 10, 11 cliffs all the time. And plus I like to hike crazy mountains. I went to Everest Base Camp a year or so ago. I've hiked the southern Patagonian ice flats, rock climbing in Oman and Germany and all these crazy things. And I was 44, 45, and I was hanging off a cliff somewhere, I don't remember where. And I'm surrounded by 30-year-olds. And I thought, I'm gonna be doomed at some point. You know, I can hang now, literally and figuratively. But at some point, I'm gonna get old and I'm not gonna be able to do this. And I thought, that's just tragic. I love my life. I love doing this. It's fun. What could I possibly do to fix it? So that's when I sort of started down this path of trying to figure it out.
How interesting. A physician such as yourself climbing rocks. Hard to visualize.
It's just fun. Have you ever climbed a rock?
No.
You should. When you were a kid, did you climb trees?
I jumped out of planes and I hated it.
Yeah, that sounds horrible. No. Jumping out of a plane means you're trusting that someone packed your parachute and then you go, ah! And then you hope you don't crash and burn. Climbing a rock is about your own body and figuring out how to read something. And it's a body puzzle. And you have to focus and everything else has to go away. So it's sort of like yoga in a way. It's like strength yoga, but it's super fun. And you get to pretend like you're a little kid.
Interesting. Please share with our audience some of the highlights of your address here at RAADfest.
Oh my gosh, this has been so much fun. So what I talked about today is based on a book that I wrote. It's called the Kaufmann Protocol, i.e. me, because it was my protocol. And it's called Why We Age and How to Stop It, which is a really boring title, except that it's exactly what it is. So the book is kind of complex, about 300 or so pages. I try to mix it up. Some of it's very academic, some of it has really bad jokes to sort of keep people entertained. But the idea is that your cells age for 7 reasons, and I go through each of those 7 reasons. And then I developed a rating system so that people could sort of figure out how to defeat each of those 7 reasons. So boiling all of this down to a 15-minute talk was a little complicated, so I tried to hit the highlights. And the highlights are essentially, I went over the 7 tenets of aging, which I'm happy to share with you if you'd like, and then explaining how to rate a system, and then explaining how people can create their own anti-aging program, because everyone's different. Everyone has their medical issues and their goals and their life concerns and such. And so the idea is everyone should have a program, but it doesn't have to be the same for everybody.
This is really most fascinating, and I'd like us to continue, but we have to pause for these commercial messages. We'll be right back. We're back with Dr. Kaufmann, and joining us is Dr. Andrews. A real pleasure to have you with us, Bill.
Glad I could join you.
So many Bills. We have Bill Faloon handy nearby, and you, and such an amazing event, this RAADfest. Please share with our audience a little bit as to what your impressions are as we conclude this RAADfest 2019.
I think RAADfest is probably the best place that anybody could learn to how to live healthy as long as possible. I mean, we have at this conference all the best doctors. We make a real big effort. When I say we, I'm on the steering committee that helps put this conference together. We make a really big effort to try to keep the charlatans away from conferences like this, so that you really hear from the experts. And I'm not just a speaker. I sit in the audience. I think I've attended every single talk at this conference this year, and I've been blown away with the things I've learned. So I think this is a very, very impressive conference. Everybody should really go to.
What would you add to that, Sandra?
I think that pretty much sums it up. I am so impressed. This is my 2nd year being here. The information you walk away with is absolutely astounding. The people here are out of this world. On top of that, I think that they sort of cater to not only the scientific community, but the community at large. And so I think everyone can take something away from this festival.
I've been here for 4 years. You know, this is my 4th RAADfest, and it just keeps getting better and better. I actually met Dr. Kaufmann here, Sandy. I call her Sandy, but I met her at the last RAADfest, and she wasn't a speaker, but she had a booth and she was selling a book, and I got her book and I read it, and I was so blown away with the things that she knew about anti-aging and the best supplements and stuff like that, that I made certain that she was a speaker this year. I got her on, let's say I pulled a lot of strings to try to help get her to be a speaker here, and I think she needs to be like a regular on this conference line.
Well, I was going to interrupt just a little bit. It wasn't exactly that easy, because I had to chase this man around the conference hall with a book in my hand, like, please read this, and he had that look of someone that gets chased around a lot. So I kind of antagonized him. I said, I understand you're not really going to read this book. And he goes, yes, I am. I go, no, you're not. Oh, yes, I am. And I harassed him enough that I think I guilted you into it more than anything else.
Actually, on the flight back home, I realized I lost the book. I thought, oh, but I promised her I'd read it. And so I went ahead and bought one and then read it. And I'm sure glad I did, because I had no idea, no expectations that it would be as good as it is. And I think it's the best guidebook, I think, for anybody to be able to know what supplements to take, how much. And I was so glad today when you talked about, like, what are fat soluble, when do you take them, morning or night, and things, because I said that's one of the biggest confusions I even have about supplements is.
Well, to be honest, and let me stop you there, I did that because of you. Because I've got a 300-page book, and I didn't know how much can you possibly say in 15 minutes. So I sort of agonized over what to include and what not to include. And I kept thinking, well, what do people ask me? And I thought, what you asked me, and you're the smartest man I know. So I thought, if you're asking me that, other people might want to know. So the whole, like, what to take, when, etc., was actually from you. So I'm glad you were there to hear that.
And there's a lot of books on the subject. I don't know any other source that provides that kind of information. So.
As we conclude, what final thoughts would you share with our audience?
Boy, stay as healthy as you can, as long as you can, because great things are going to happen in the future, especially in the field of anti-aging and transhumanism and stuff like that. And you don't want to miss the boat. I mean, it's like right now, every day I'm just like, what is the healthiest thing I can do? What are the right supplements? How much exercise should I do? What should I eat? All these things, just because I want to make certain that I'm around when the big breakthroughs come through. And that's the recommendation to everybody. Stay healthy. Just do everything you can. Stay healthy.
Fascinating. And Sandra, your thoughts?
I'm probably not as healthy as he is. My thought is live your life to the fullest, enjoy what you want to enjoy, but balance it out with things that will help your longevity. I kind of feel bad for these people that have these ridiculous caloric restriction programs because they're not eating for days and days and days, and I value their ability to do that. I couldn't do it, but I think science has sort of evolved a way that you can live your life and sort of increase your longevity.
Yeah, without having to go through miserable diet plans
Yes,
and stuff like that.
yes,
Because
exactly.
I hear all these people saying, oh, I fasted for 27 days, and I thought,
Yeah, good luck
I
with
wouldn't
that.
want to do that. there's more fun ways to stay healthy.
I echo that thought. I want to thank you so very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And you, Sandra.
Thank you.
I'll be right back.
Great to be here. It's a great conference, a combination of a scientific conference with a festival celebrating life and not death.
That's what RAADfest is about. It's about the power of togetherness, the power of sharing the information that is saving lives.
That paradigm of aging is awful. No wonder nobody wants to get old.
Human age reversal. We may be there already. Human studies are now ready to begin to confirm meaningful reversal of pathological aging processes. These clinical trials aim to alter older humans so that they function as much younger individuals. Even modest success will result in a paradigm shift that will impart enormous societal benefits, such as sparing Medicare from insolvency.
Please welcome the director and co-founder of Life Extension Foundation, Bill Faloon.
Thank you so much. Group, I want you to know that every PowerPoint I'm going to show is on the agereversal.net. Every single one. So it gives you an opportunity to pay attention to what I'm saying, because on this website, this entire PowerPoint and others are there for your viewing. Now, in about 15 minutes, I'm going to make an announcement that is unprecedented in the history of medical science. In fact, what you're going to learn at RAADfest this weekend is unparalleled in the history of the human race. Before we delve into the science, I want to put into context where we are today compared to 10 years ago. This is a group of people who attended the Manhattan Beach Longevity Summit in November 2009. We gathered this group of mostly scientists to identify just one intervention that could reverse a pathological aging mechanism. We were just seeking something, one way for us to grow a little younger, because we were all, unfortunately, aging to death. So we had a really nice logo made, Nuke Aging, and we used Manhattan Beach Project to make it analogous to the Manhattan Beach Project in Los Alamos, New Mexico. We were in a hurry. So the goal, one intervention to reverse aging. We've got 55 mostly scientific people together. There was no registration fee for this, by the way. Life Extension paid for the hotel, the travel, the meals, everything. We paid $60,000 to get this group of scientists together because, hey, we were aging to death and nothing could be done to reverse it. And after 3 straight days, absolutely nothing. Nothing that we could validate that could make an older person grow biologically younger. That was the harsh reality. It was total desperation 10 years ago at the Manhattan Beach Conference. Absolute disaster. Move forward to 2019. And you got the covers of prestigious scientific magazines talking about a cure for biological aging. And it has a lot to do with what I'm going to tell you about tonight. A cure for biological aging. 2009, nothing. And look at where we are. You go to the airport, you may see this Time magazine special edition. It's all about rapamycin and a number of therapies that you are familiar with. And what they say in this magazine is that aging is no longer a dreadful inevitability. It's just a puzzle that can be solved, just like a disease. And look at what we're doing right now. This puzzle, that involves 10 different age reversal interventions that our Life Extension Group, the Age Reversal Network, a number of other charities, we have studied some of these, or all of them in one way or another, in humans, and we're seeing results. So what is being talked about in the media is being done right now by people in this room. It's absolutely spectacular. And the concept of living for an indefinite period of time, it's now appearing in prestigious scientific journals. The reporters talk to the scientists who are making aging in reverse in the laboratory. They're talking to me about what we're doing with human studies, and they're realizing that people are going to start living a real long time. The prospect of immortality, it's no longer science fiction. It is turning into scientific reality, and the media is picking up on it. I'm going to tell you why in just a few minutes, but they're picking up on the fact that aging is going to be conquered very, very soon. We are cheating aging every single day. And most of you are doing that with how you delay it, with the various interventions that you utilize. But we need to move it backwards, because we can't just slow down something forever. We need to put it in reverse. Now, if you look at where we were, wow, a terrible time 10 years ago. Move forward just 10 years. Major, major advances that occurred. Major, major advances. And we're looking at the conferences right now. If you wonder why there's not 5,000 people in this room, by the way, well, there are 30 rated longevity conferences around the country, around the world, and those conferences are listing RAADfest, and the money is pouring into venture capital firms and scientists' hands who are seeking to find a cure for aging. This girl, Laura Deming, she started when she was 23 years of age. She's now managing a portfolio of $37 million invested in a number of companies seeking to keep you alive indefinitely. We are robbing people from conventional companies. They're joining companies like Life Biosciences. They raised $75 million. Now that's as of March. I've heard tonight from Aubrey de Grey that they've been raising a lot more than $75 million. Their objective of raising all this money, find a way to reverse aging in all of us. That is their objective. And Alex Zavaronikov, this is an example of someone who never stops working to find a cure for aging. I've known him for a number of years. Back about 4 or 5 years ago, our Life Extension group invested about $140,000 into his in silico medicine group. And since then, he's raised many more millions. And just recently, he's raised $37 million to do all types of research. And I point this out because $140,000 a couple of years ago, it was a significant amount, but he's transformed that into something much bigger. And it shows how a little bit of money now can grow into something absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. And the all-time leader at the moment as far as fundraising, Jim Mellon, he talked at RAADfest this year. His Juvenescence group has raised $165 million as of this date. And I also heard from people that he's gone well above that in fundraising. And he put $20 million of his own money into these technologies so that we can all live to be at least 150 years of age. So if you look at what's going on, how humanity has been able to expand, and by the way, this was the Wall Street Journal, just a couple months ago, reported that the number of people living to age 100 and above has doubled. Wow, absolutely doubled. A 2.5-fold increase in the number of people who are reaching that centenarian status and above. And look what they're projecting. By year 2030, there will be nearly a 5-fold increase in the number of Americans living to age 100 and above. And that is without the age reversal technologies you're going to learn about this weekend. Just with improvements in conventional medicine, we're going to have a record number of centenarians by year 2030. And it's going to go way beyond that. Now, I want to put some context into this. It's very important. From 1980 to 2000, there were massive improvements in the relative number of Americans living to age 100. But look at 2000. It started to drop. What happened around 2000? Well, obesity. We've got an epidemic of obesity. You look at the maps on the screen. 1994, there wasn't a whole lot of it. 2000, people started getting heavier and more diabetic. And then 2015, it's like a plague that swept the United States. That those dark red areas indicate the percentage of people diabetic and obese. It's an absolute travesty, and it's circumventing the ability of most people to enjoy a lot longer life. And as it relates to losing weight, I know it's challenging. We're going to help you out here a little bit, but your rate of cancer turns out is much higher than what they previously projected. They've always known obese people have greater cancer risk. This study just 2 months ago showed the risk of cancer far higher in obese individuals. And if you want to maintain healthy neurological function, well, if you're obese, you have a 3.5-fold increase in your risk of developing dementia. All kind of good reasons to want to shed belly fat or total fat. Good reasons. Now, I'm going to report a little bit on our Rapamycin clinical trial. This was initiated about 1.5 years ago. The dosage was what we recommended here at RAADfest for people to consider, 5 milligrams of Rapamycin just once a week. We recruited people from our Age Reversal Network, and there were about 20 overweight people. 14 concluded. No one dropped out because of side effects, by the way. But here was the big problem. We had, unfortunately, major fires in California. And it caused their such stress that they couldn't really deal with their health because their houses were burning down. They were inhaling smoke. But what we were able to see in this Rapamycin study were significant reductions in the visceral fat mass. Very, very important. If you're going to live to be 100 or older, you got to shed belly fat. And this dose of Rapamycin showed those indications. And in people who were in the non-smoke affected areas who were in this trial, the Rapamycin was demonstrating some indicators of age reversal. So this study is going to get published very soon, and then we're going to send it out to everyone in this room. But the good news is the Rapamycin experimental dose of 5 milligrams just once a week, well tolerated, and yet we knew high stress. We found that high stress offset many of the benefits of this regenerative technique. So this is our revised stair-step approach to biological age control. Activate AMPK, and I bet almost everyone in this room is doing that one way or another. You're taking metformin. You're using curcumin, green tea, gynostemma pentaphyllum. You're using interventions to activate cellular AMPK, which is real good for you. Second step, senolytics. You want to reduce your senescent cell burden. The current gold standard protocol is dasatinib and quercetin, and a lot of you are doing that. I've done it a couple times since last year's RAADfest. We, of course, want to restore youthful NAD levels, and autophagy, that's that cellular junk that builds up inside our cells that Aubrey de Grey has talked about for decades. And the problem was we couldn't do much about it. Well, Rapamycin helps to remove that cellular debris so that our cells can start functioning in a more youthful manner. So you go steps 1 through 4, and biologics. Well, those are exosomes, stem cells, stem cell mobilized plasma, all kinds of techniques to then truly rejuvenate you in a meaningful way. But steps 1 through 4, very important. And if we do all this, we think we're going to make it to 2030. CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing technology will then likely be the ultimate cure for biological aging. And I want to thank everyone for their support of life extension over the last 42 years. That's why we have RAADfest. I was able to get this up off the ground with Jim and so many others, with the People Unlimited group. So thank you very much, and I'll be looking forward to interacting with as many people as I can this weekend.
Life Extension has covered groundbreaking medical research for more than 35 years. For your health and future, you deserve the best. Learn more at lifeextension.com.
This concludes our special show for today. I'm Richard Peritz. Thank you for being with us.